The following module provides training on select genetics, breeder farm biosecurity practices, and animal welfare standards. The first section will cover biosecurity practices and expectations for all employees. Biosecurity is essential to protect our turkeys against disease. Disease prevention relies on minimizing risk factors that are associated with disease agents in our turkeys. Some of the largest risks that you need to minimize contact with or avoid are other domesticated poultry, such as chickens and ducks, wild birds and also pet birds, pigs, and also activities such as hunting. Please avoid visiting or coming in contact with wild bird markets, as they pose one of the largest risk factors in spreading diseases to our turkeys. If you come in contact with any of these agents or partake in an activity that may be dangerous to spreading diseases to our turkeys, please notify management, and you will have to take proper amount of downtime before coming back onto the farm. The perimeter buffer area is outlined on this map in black. This is the area where all biosecurity practices are enforced. This area may be marked by a fence or an imaginary line that may be outlined with perimeter bait stations or other means of demarcation. The line of separation is shown in pink. This is the area that separates the outside environment from the area where the birds are housed. This area is critical in making sure that hands and feet are protected so that disease agents aren't carried across this line. There are two main ways to enter our farms. The majority of our farms have a shower facility, and for those that do not, there will be a Danish entry. Most of our farms, you will enter via one of these two routes, and there will also be another Danish entry upon entering into the specific barns on the farms. This slide depicts the procedures you will take when entering onto a farm. For farms without a shower facility, you will enter the farm or break room via a Danish entry. You will enter from the outside into a dirty area where your street shoes and other personal belongings will be left. Upon crossing the bench, you will enter into the clean side where there will be farm-specific clothing or coveralls, hand sanitizer, gloves and masks available, along with farm-specific footwear. From there, you will enter into either the break room or the farm site. The primary goal of biosecurity is to keep disease agents off the farm, and also to prevent spreading disease agents if that farm is experiencing a disease outbreak. When entering inside the shower facility or entering inside a barn, keep street shoes in the entryway on the dirty side. All personal belongings that must go into the farm must be disinfected and placed in the entry window. No cell phones are allowed beyond the break room unless authorized by management. All cell phones must be disinfected with Lysol. Lunches must be placed in a plastic disposable bag and disinfected. Permanent lunch boxes and coolers are not allowed inside of our farms. When entering a barn, please step directly in foot pan. Then, you will change from your outside boots to barn-specific boots on the opposite or clean side of the Danish entry. The Danish entry is the line of separation. All materials or belongings that were outside of the barn must stay outside or be disinfected. If there was not a previous shower facility, coveralls or farm-specific clothing will also be placed on at this point. On the clean side of the Danish entry, barn-specific boots will be provided, along with gloves, masks, and hand sanitizer for your use. People are one of the most common vectors for spreading disease. Therefore, as the previous slide described, hands and feet are important to sanitize and/or change into barn-specific boots or gloves. However, we must also keep in mind that rodents and birds also transmit and carry diseases that affect our turkeys. It is important to walk the barn perimeter. While doing so, please check for birds' nests and any birds that may be trapped in the netting, and remove them on at least a weekly basis. Also check barn perimeter for any gaps or holes in the barns where rodents may be entering. It is important to eliminate harborage. Harborage is debris that may act as housing or attractant of small mammals or rodents. Please clean that up around the perimeter or facility. Also, maintain grass and weeds and so that they do not grow up and also act as an attractant for rodents. Bait stations around the barn and around the perimeter are important for trying to keep mice and other rodents away from our facilities and out of them. Please check perimeter bait stations and bait stations inside the barn on a weekly basis. Bait stations should be changed at least monthly. It is important to pick up and discard old bait. Leaving old bait around the bait stations will lead to bait resistance in the rodent population. Your personal safety is important to us. Therefore, we do not allow food inside the barns or beyond the break room. If you have water bottles or other drinking containers, please make sure that they are closed and have lids. Always wash your hands with soap and water when returning to the break room and especially prior to meals. If you or anyone you are living with are experiencing flu-like symptoms, please notify your manager and stay home. Please protect yourself and watch your safety. This next section will cover topics in animal welfare. Animal welfare is very important to us, and it is all of our commitments to raising quality turkeys for our customers. You will likely be handling birds throughout your workday. Bird handling is very important to do it properly. The key points to remember are to always hold birds firmly, but do not use excessive pressure. Always support the bird by 2 points of contact. Hold the bird near your body to help provide support and security. Birds must be released close enough to the ground and in a manner as to not cause injury or harm. This next series of slides uses pictures to demonstrate proper bird handling methods and techniques. First is the method of holding the bird by the body. This works well for birds less than 10 pounds or 4.5 kilograms. The proper method is to cut both hands around the body of the bird with your thumbs near the backbone and your fingers over the wings and around the breast. Gently shift the bird so that the breast is in the palm of one hand. Provide additional support by gently grasping both legs with the other hand. An effective method of handling birds of all sizes is by both legs. Grasp the shanks of both legs close to the hock joint. Gently lift and rotate the bird so that its feet are facing up. Birds may also be handled by an opposite wing and leg. This works well for birds over 10 pounds. First, step to the side of the bird with your face slightly turned to avoid injury from wind flapping. Second, reach across the bird to grasp the wing at the shoulder on the opposite side. Quickly grasp the leg at the hock joint opposite to the wing you are holding. Lift the bird, keeping it close to your body. You may also handle birds by both wings. This works for birds of all sizes. Grasp the bird from behind by both wings close to the shoulder. Gently lift the bird. With this method, it is important to grab the bird at the base of the wings. If you grab the bird by the tips, you may break a wing and cause injury to the bird. Now we will cover specific bird handling techniques for tasks that are performed on our farms. For semen collection, grab the toms by one leg and the opposite wing. Place the bird in the semen collection device. In this case, both legs are secured by the clamp and the breast is resting on the chair. When releasing the toms, guide them to the ground so that they do not fall. This video shows proper bird handling during the catching and insemination process. The catcher will grab the hens by both legs, glide the hen with both legs and a wing over to the insemination chair. The hen will be supported by both legs in the insemination chair. After the inseminator has injected the hen will be gently released to the ground. There are various ways of handling birds during the vaccination process. Bird handling methods relies on the vaccination sites and techniques. Proper injection sites include the base of the neck, which would be a subcutaneous injection, the tail head, which is an intramuscular route, and a wind web injection. When handling the birds, please do not obstruct the site of vaccine injection. Now that we have reviewed all of the proper bird handling techniques, it is critical that everyone that will be handling turkeys knows and understands that these actions are never acceptable. Never drag a turkey. Never hold a bird by a single leg or a single wing. Never carry a bird by the neck, head, or tail. Never carry a bird by an injured wing or leg. Never kick, throw, violently shove, punch, or swing birds. Never drop birds from elevations that would cause injury or harm to the birds. If any employee is observed or reported causing harm, injury, or animal abuse to our turkeys, there will be an investigation on that report. Disciplinary actions will be warranted. For minor offenses, the first offense, there will be a verbal warning. A second offense, a written warning, will be warranted to that employee, and the employee will now face grounds for termination upon a third offense. And therefore, the third offense, the employee will be terminated and will not be eligible for rehire. For a major offense, upon the first offense, the employee will be terminated and the employee will not be eligible for rehire. Please do not cause any harm or injury or animal abuse to our turkeys, as animal welfare is of utmost importance to Select Genetics. We depend on you to protect our animals. If you see it, stop it and report it. An anonymous reporting hotline is provided in the poster shown below. These posters will be posted on your farm. If you witness any deliberate mistreatment of animals, it is your responsibility to immediately stop it and report it to your supervisor, manager, human resources, or the company hotline. Reports will be thoroughly investigated and you will not be penalized for speaking up. It is your responsibility. Anytime turkeys are intentionally or unintentionally harmed, an animal welfare incident report must be filled out by your supervisor. These reports will be followed up by management to make sure they will not occur again and do any follow-up investigation. When herding, flagging, or moving birds, lightweight flags are used to help guide the birds. Flags should not be hitting the birds and should be gently raised above the birds. When chasing birds to a concentrated location, such as a loadout chute or AI chute, do not crowd or pile the birds. Crowding can be avoided by moving small groups of birds. If birds are causing injury to each other or on any of the equipment, please stop the bird move and reevaluate how to better perform the process. When herding birds for a loadout, a proper drive will have the birds facing the same direction and voluntarily moving forward. Ensure that you have enough people available to properly load the birds. Continue to keep a constant flow of birds moving onto the truck and loader. Birds that cannot walk must be carried or euthanized. Do not pile birds on top of downed birds. During loadout, birds will be placed into coops on a trailer. The proper method of guiding turkeys into the coop during manual loading is to place one hand on the wing or breast and the other hand on the tail head of the bird. Slide the birds to fill the coop evenly. Ensure that all appendages are not getting caught or harmed on the trailer. If birds fall from the coop or loader, pick them up as soon as possible and place them onto the truck. Birds should not be running loose outside of the barn. For further training during loading processes, please refer to the transportation SOP or ask the supervisor of the loading process. After loading the birds onto the trailer, the birds are in an upright position in a single layer and resting comfortably. Follow all transportation SOPs to accommodate for weather conditions. It is important to give the driver an accurate head count of the number of birds being brought to the plant. All bird injuries or accidents will be reported to your supervisor and an incident report form will be filed. Select Genetics has a series of best management practices to ensure proper housing and comfort for all of our turkeys. It is important that all birds have access to a clean water supply. There should be no more than 130 birds per Plisson drinker. Birds should also have adequate access to feed. Make sure all feed lines are properly working. A ventilation and lighting protocol should be posted on each farm. It is important that birds are placed on dry litter. If litter gets excessively wet or there are water spills, they should be cleaned up and managed properly. Also, make sure that all nests on lay farms are working properly so they are not causing injury or harm to birds. There should be no sharp protrusions on the nests or anywhere else in the farm that are causing injury to birds. If you're noticing birds are having excessive injuries, please take extra notice and precaution of the surrounding conditions to eliminate anything causing harm to the birds. A recovery pen is a separate area where birds will be housed to recover from injuries. If a farm has a recovery pen, there must be adequate access to feed and water for all the birds. There must also be clean, dry shavings. Eggs should be picked up in that pen every pick, and if possible, birds should have access to nests. The recovery pen must be checked minimally twice a day, and all checks should be recorded. If birds are not recovering, birds should be properly euthanized. Wounds should be properly cared for by spraying them with a germicidal or a fungicidal. The recovery pen is not a holding pen for cull birds. Birds should not remain in the recovery pen beyond 7 days. Birds will either be placed back into the pens or will be euthanized if not recovering. Euthanasia must only be performed by properly trained employees. All employees trained in euthanasia must demonstrate the proper technique to their farm manager or supervisor. Supervisors must sign off on employee demonstration and training. Please review the euthanasia guidelines and criteria which can be found in your animal welfare book on each farm. Approved euthanasia methods include cervical dislocation and non-penetrating captive bolt. We will now describe the proper euthanasia methods. First is cervical dislocation. Manual cervical dislocation involves stretching and separating the vertebrae in the bird's neck, rendering it insensible, followed by death. It causes severance of the brain from the spinal cord and the carotid arteries. Properly grasp the shank of the bird in one hand and grasp directly behind the skull in the other hand. The neck is then extended and dislocated using a sharp downward and backward thrust. Cervical dislocation can be carried out with the aid of a Keckner tool. The Keckner tool should be placed at the junction of the spinal cord and the back of the skull. The V of the tool should be placed under the junction of the head and spinal cord. The user should close the tool all the way and immediately release the tool from the bird's head. The bird should be immobilized by another employee holding the bird by both legs on the ground. Once the bird is euthanized, the holder should immediately release the bird. A series of Keckner tools have been designed to euthanize turkeys of all sizes. The KED S is used in birds up to 4 pounds. The KED C is used in birds up to 30 pounds. The KED B can be used on any size of bird. The KED-T can be used for euthanizing toms up to 75 pounds. A non-penetrating captive bolt device can be used to euthanize adult turkeys. There are multiple brands and styles of non-penetrating captive bolt devices. Please refer to the instruction manual on the device that is located on your farm. For use of the turkey euthanizing device, placement on the top of the skull of the bird is critical. Please refer to the picture on the slide for proper placement. The one operator method is not recommended if assistance is available. Lay the turkey on its breast on the floor. Grasp the shanks of the turkey with one hand and hold firmly to the floor. Gently use one foot to hold the legs to the floor to free the hand. Grasp the head immediately behind the skull with one hand. Extend the neck and hold the head firmly to the floor. Position the subject adapter between the ears and behind the eyes on the skull. Push TED onto the head until the activator stops. Immediately squeeze the trigger. Let go of the turkey immediately after firing the TED. Always confirm the turkey is dead. When euthanizing turkeys, always confirm that the bird has died. Signs that a turkey has died include the following: lack of response to a hard pinch of the snood, lack of blink reflex when the eye is touched, or when the turkey is not breathing or there is not a heartbeat. Do not walk away from a turkey if death has not been confirmed. Culling is a term in which we describe animals that must be separated and euthanized due to injury, distress, or harm in which they do not recover from. Birds that must be culled include, but are not limited to, all birds that cannot reach food or water, birds that have broken or exposed bones, birds that may be blind in both eyes or have severe eye lesions inhibiting sight, birds that are suffering from limb deformities that are disrupting the bird's mobility, which include severe bumblefoot, twisted shank, cowboy or splayed legs, birds that are suffering from prolapses or blowouts, birds that may have gashes or cuts larger than 4 to 5 inches with protruding flesh, or birds that are suffering from severe pecking injuries. Birds must be euthanized immediately after noticeable injuries. We hope that you have found this module useful in providing the basics on select genetics, biosecurity, and animal welfare expectations. You will have more extensive training on the farm by our farm manager and supervisor. Thank you for being part of our team and caring for our turkeys.